Evidence and Impact in Higher Education, Part 1. This short video is an introduction to evidence and impact, specifically outlining an approach to designing evaluations at Sheffield Hallam. Part 2 will focus on the evidence needed to measure that impact. You may find it useful to think about an evaluation you have done or are planning to do as you watch this video. This video brings together the evaluation guidance from the Office for Students and the findings of a self-assessment of evaluation practice conducted at Sheffield Hallam in July 2019. These activities have helped develop the offer and support to staff at Hallam in line with our commitment to building an evaluative mindset within our institutional culture. Currently, access evaluations are the most developed. An evaluation is perhaps more limited and sometimes presents as a hidden resource across success and progress areas. This video will discuss the Office for Students evaluation framework. This will start with, firstly, the strategic context. Then it will discuss programme design or activity design. Then we will move on to look at evaluation design, followed by evaluation implementation, and finally, learning from your evaluation. The first section of the framework is strategic context. Firstly, support. Here, evaluation is regularly and routinely discussed in access and participation delivery group meetings. But perhaps more information is needed to determine how evaluation is supported within colleges and departments. If we think about culture, STEER are responsible for raising the awareness of the importance of evaluation across our institution. The Office for Students Evaluation Framework will be used to guide all institutional evaluations. You can see our evaluation checklist for a detailed overview of how this works. Finally, skills. STEER are responsible for building evaluation capacity across the institution, across access, success and progress areas. Think about your own strategic context, support, culture and skills. If you did a skills audit of your team, what further support would you need to support evaluation activity? Consider this point before moving on to the second section of the framework. The second area of this framework is activity, intervention or programme design. All evaluations should have a strong understanding of the issue you are attempting to resolve and why. Think about the rationale. At Hallam, we will create an evaluation repository which will house evidence of institutional evaluations. You can also look at the evidence toolkits from the Office for Students and TASO. Links are provided at the end of this video. Then consider the indicators and measures that you will need to look at. All activities or interventions should have clearly defined measures of success. Ask yourself, what does success look like? Hallam collects a range of institutional data and commissions bespoke research and evaluation. It is always worth scoping whether your planned activity has been done before and what has been learnt. Finally, during design, think about your strategy. Evaluation should be embedded into your activity or intervention or project at the outset and should not be an afterthought, and this is too often the case. Think about the following question. What stage are you at with your activity design? Have you thought about the "how will I know it works" alongside the "how will it work"? You can pause here to consider this question. The third section of this framework is evaluation design. Your evaluation design should align the issues and assumptions, measurements and data with your outcomes and impact. Can you work through a theory of change and present this as a logic model to move beyond simply being data-driven? Make a note to engage with more of these resources online if you are unsure of these evaluative approaches. Other things to consider during evaluation design are proportionality. The proportionality of evaluation should be linked to the spend and size of the activity. The larger the project, the more extensive an evaluation should be. Not all evaluations require new data. Can you use an existing evidence base? The next video in this resource pack will focus on types of evidence. At the outset, also consider the utility of your findings. Can you articulate what you want to prove from your evaluation? This should guide your design and methods. The Office for Students are promoting 3 types of evidence for evaluation in higher education. A narrative approach has a clear rationale for why the activity is being implemented with a theory of change, and this is the expected standard. In addition, empirical evidence, for example pre and post measurements, and causal evidence, for example experimental testing, can claim to be more effective in determining impact. STEER can help you assess the right level of evidence for your evaluation and the most appropriate methods to use. Make a note now of how any initial ideas you may have. The 4th section is evaluation implementation. Firstly, consider your data collection. At this point, evaluators should consider the following questions. Do you know how you will access the data required to measure impact? Do you work with any other stakeholders where data sharing protocols might be needed? Can you measure change on individuals? Can you track your participants over time? Do you have an agreed research protocol, an ethical approval process? STEER have just implemented a new process of ethical approval for institutional service evaluations. The link for this will be at the end of the video. In addition, your evaluation will need to be resourced, so think about budget, with a full consideration of risk and limitations, including time, money, and capability. Finally, it is essential that learning occurs as a result of the evaluation, whether the activity has been a success or not. A joined-up, cross-institution approach to learning is necessary at Hallam to help interpret the results. Do your results show a change in the outcomes you identified? This should include acknowledging limitations, triangulating data sources, and making use of existing sector literature. Also think about how you will share your knowledge from this evaluation. The STEER Evaluation Repository will enable findings to be shared internally. Are you also committed to sharing your findings externally? This is where the new ethical approval process for institutional service evaluation will be useful. Finally, your findings should inform and improve practice. Pause here to consider how you would draft a communication plan to make sure that there is some learning from your evaluation. Please consult the STEER Evaluation Checklist to help you work through the 5 stages of the OFS Evaluation Framework. You can also see the links below for more assistance. If you have any questions, please do get in contact with me, Liz Austin, or through our STEER contact details. Many thanks for listening.